Hello and welcome to another episode of The Fight. I'm Mike, joined as always by my co-host Zach.
What's up?
What's going on? Welcome to the podcast. So, it has been, I don't know, a hell of a week.
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 And it's all just dumb shit. That's what the last few weeks has been. Every week is a bunch happens, but it's all weird ass shit.
Like aliens?
Like, pretty much, might as well be.
Bro, I was listening to the radio the other day, and accidentally I heard because in the last stimulus bill, it was written up that the government had to declassify information about aliens, admitting that they had alien artifacts and shit.
Really?
I didn't dig too deep into it. I haven't had the chance. But I will definitely be looking into it. But if you go online, you should be able to research it, and they're admitting everything that they have. On top of the leaked footage that, like, the people from the Navy and stuff like that had of aliens.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've all seen those videos.
Yeah, but now it's all declassified.
Where they go from, like, 1,000 feet down to, like, 1 foot off the sea level in, like, a second.
Yeah. Well, now it's all declassified. It's true. And, it was all part of the last stimulus package. It was all tucked in there. Something I didn't know anything about it. It was just hidden in there, kind of like they're trying to do with.
What?
Yeah. They were talking about all over the radio.
NBC, can we get a fact check? Can we get a fact check? Aisle 3. I'm gonna research that. We'll both research that this week. I'll try to get some actual articles or something on it. Some actual.
Can you bring it up right now? Is there any chance to bring it up right now?
Probably not. No.
All right. Maybe next time hopefully eventually we'll get to that level where we're able to bring stuff up as we think about it.
Yeah, we'll do some digging.
Yeah.
I know we're moving up here, you know. Podcast is getting bigger, more professional looking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Yeah. But no, it's not it's not up to that level yet. We're like instant searches and shit.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Well, because what it is I got some articles and whatnot, some show notes here preloaded. Go through a couple articles with everybody today. But did you hear the sound bites of Joe Biden from this week that everybody's been playing?
No.
Like the gaffes that he said and shit?
No, I can only imagine.
Like the one where he said, "Everybody knows I like kids more than I like people."
Of course everyone knows that. If you remember during the campaign, he's like, I like to let children sit in my lap, and I like to let children feel my legs. They like to feel the hair on my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, go back to Epstein Island.
Oh my god. It's just like cringeworthy moment right there. Jesus Christ.
Now he's probably got dementia, so all the truth's gonna be coming about.
But I think one of them was he said something like, every day it's like waking up and asking Jill, where am I? Or he said something like just like that. You know what I mean?
And go back to your slumber, Joe. Go back to the basement and let the big boys handle the politics for you.
Yeah.
Let Kamala handle all your business.
Yeah. Insane. And then he's talking about China, and then he's openly admitting that like he's not gonna confront them or say anything. When he's talking about, like their Uyghur Muslims that they keep in camps and they sterilize the women in those camps. I mean, it's genocide. Just instead of putting them in gas chambers or outright killing them, they just put them in the camps. Then they sterilize the women. And then they can't reproduce. Yeah. So
figures that he wouldn't say anything about that.
Well, he said in his interview, when it comes to China, we're not gonna confront them or say anything. We need to accept that there's cultural differences between them and us. China, they have a different culture and they have to be very solid and firm in their China United.
You're right. In the 40s, we had a cultural difference with
Germany. He's like, so we're not gonna talk about what they do in the Northwest with the Uyghur Muslims, and we're not going to talk about any of that stuff.
So where's your whole human rights activists on this kind of shit?
Right.
You want to fight and dispute every other thing, but as soon as it comes to something with China and how they're putting people in camps like this, you're all going to be hush-hush about it? You no longer want to talk about it? Come on, Joe. Come on. Talk to us.
Right. And exactly the opposite, because look, like, the NBA is a perfect example. They love China. They kiss China's ass, even with all that stuff going on. You know what I mean? All your NBA players, the league in general. I mean, they're really bad when it comes to China. But then you'll have those same NBA players. You know what I mean? Protesting and talking some dumb shit here in the States. You know what I mean? About how terrible America is. But then when it comes to China, where they're doing actual genocide, mum's the word, man, because that's a lot of money and that's a lot of revenue, and they're not gonna risk messing with that.
You know, it takes really big balls to stand up and do what's right in life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this shows how weak the left really is.
Yeah,
they're gonna watch these people get slaughtered. Okay, so they're not gonna be killed directly, but their whole culture, this whole group of people is going to be wiped out over time. And you're just going to sit by idly and let it happen. And then you want to watch them do all this. You're going to say, "Oh, we're not supporting. It's a cultural difference." But we'll give them all of our jobs. We'll give them all of our money because we're going to buy all of our goods for them. We're going to support them financially. Mm-hmm. But we're not with that.
Well, speaking of that, that's a perfect segue actually for one of the articles I got. Speaking of China and giving them money and all that. So, one of them is two things. Now, the article I have here is Wuhan lab eligible to receive U.S. taxpayer funding through 2024, NIH confirms. Now, this is an article from Daily Caller. It was an article that ran in the Daily Caller February 16th. So, and that's the title of it. Wuhan lab eligible to receive U.S. taxpayer funding through 2024. NIH confirms. And then they say the Wuhan Institute of Virology is authorized to receive taxpayer funding for animal research through January 2024, according to the National Institute of Health.
All right, where's PETA on all this? Animal testing doesn't sound very.
Well, I mean that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty standard. Even our pharmaceuticals. I mean, I know, but at the end of the day, you know, you got to test it on a rat before you put it in a human's body. I mean, that's never going to change. Now, actually, the big fuss back in the day, I think a lot of it was mostly centered around like your cosmetic companies.
Lipstick on.
Yeah, we all saw that stuff like lipstick on bunny rabbits, and you know what I mean. So I think animal testing definitely has its place, and I think the animals used in testing need to be at least monitored, and you know what I mean. But they've always done some crazy shit, man.
I just don't get how we're struggling financially. You're cutting off our jobs, cutting off.
Remember he said we were going to be extreme competition.
How are you extreme competition when you're giving them everything? How are you going to take my hard-earned money and give it away to another country that spread the virus to begin with? No,
we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
We talk the truth here, goddammit.
Yeah,
all right, fine.
But no, that's 100% true, and we're gonna shut down half our industries. Let's scale back the military. We don't need a lot of that shit. And don't worry, we'll still find a way to compete with China. And and we're also not gonna say anything to them. We're not gonna, you know what I mean? We just have to understand that they do what they do, and it's a different culture, you know. So yeah, but I mean, we're competing with them, sure. Crickets. That's exactly what comes after that. Crickets. Yeah, so through 2024, funding from us, and then the WIV received, so the Wuhan lab received $600,000 in taxpayer funds between 2014 and 2019 through the nonprofit group EcoHealth to study bat-based coronaviruses. That's like a little bombshell just thrown in there. You know what I mean? Like, so discreet. Think about that. Received $600,000 in taxpayer funds between 2014 and 2019 through a nonprofit group to study bat-based coronaviruses. And in 2020, we have a bat-based coronavirus pandemic globally.
That, you know what? I saw something, and I didn't quite catch like what it meant, and now I'm wondering maybe it has nothing to do with that, but it was people were talking about bats, and it's from the Anchorman movie when he said, you know what they call bats, the chicken of the cave. And I seen some comments of people talking about it, and some people were really pissed off about it, saying, you know, that joke didn't age well. And someone else was saying that it's too soon to be bringing up jokes like that all of a sudden. So I wonder if that has ties into what they were talking about. Like, people seem really pissed off about the joke now when they heard it.
Well, it's funny because it drops that little bombshell. And then it goes on from there, and it says, the president of EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Daszak, was the sole U.S. member in the World Health Organization delegation that investigated the origins of COVID-19 in China. He said the White House should blindly accept the WHO's determination that it's highly unlikely that COVID-19 could have unintentionally leaked from the Wuhan lab. So first they tell you that we're funding them. Then they tell you that we funded them specifically from 2014 to 2019 for studies on bat-based coronaviruses. And then after that it says, but we should all listen when the WHO tells us that a bat-based coronavirus didn't leak out of China in 2019-2020. All in the same article.
Who made this shit up? This is stupid, bro.
The funniest part about that is it took me a second. I was like, huh? You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. You got me. That was good.
The left tell on themselves all the time. They expose themselves all the time, but nobody listens.
Well, they're not even telling on themselves. They're just talking. They don't like. We talked about this in can't even talk. Past podcasts, you know, where they don't hide who they are. They don't hide what their intentions are to anybody that's paying attention, and you know they'll openly espouse what their goals are. You know what I mean? And still, people, I don't know, somehow have the idea that they haven't said those things. I don't know. Or that they're not communists. And they openly say that they're Marxist communists.
Them sons of bitches.
Yeah, wow.
I reckon it's time we do something about it. Swing blade.
So, what else do we got? We got that. And that was that. Yeah, that was the two things I was gonna say, and they were linked. One, yes, the Wuhan lab and the funding that we've given and are going to continue to give them through 2024. Not only that, but we're also sending money to the WHO organization again, and we're going to be funding that. And Joe Biden said something. I don't remember exactly where I put it, but yeah, he said something about we were gonna get back into the WHO, and he was gonna be sending them like $600,000 and fees and expenses and or whatever that we owed him as of right now. I guess for what we didn't pay while Trump was president, probably. I don't know, some bullshit.
What I don't get is they want to take care of everybody. We need the universal health care. We need this and we need that. Everything's universal. We got to take care of each other. But you're not even taking care of the people here in America.
Well, no, that's just how they spread the message, and everybody believes it. You know what I mean? But anybody who knows that there's no such thing as free. A government program just means that you're going to pay that in taxes. And then some. And then not only that, but then it's just going to become another bureaucracy, and it's going to run just as shitty as every single other government program.
Wait till we have 40% tax.
Right. But people fall for it. They think, oh, free healthcare. Okay, so you want everything to be the Medicaid system or the Medicare system? Because that runs like shit. Like, actual people that are on that have that, like low-income people, you know what I mean? They'll tell you it's garbage. And that's government healthcare. That's what that is.
See, everyone else has had it wrong? No. You know what I mean? Every country's ever tried socialism and tried this one taking care of you. Socialism, anyone who's tried it, it's all been fake socialism.
Right.
That's why everything is, shitty healthcare, shitty government running. Everything's gone to shit.
Well, that's all it is just more bureaucracy and more government control. And then it's going to run even shittier. Like, it's always proven that a private run will run better than a government run. You know what I mean? Perfect example. Look at the differences between NASA and SpaceX. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just look at that. Look at the Medicaid, Medicare system versus people who can actually afford private insurance. You know what I mean? It's right there. Those are the people. They have the good doctors. They have you know what I mean? Because they can afford it. And then not only that, but like we talked about in our last podcast, and then like with the free college and stuff. Okay, so everybody has a degree. What's it worth now? Nothing. The good degrees aren't going to be free. Those are still going to cost money and years to obtain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's somebody's got to flip the burgers.
Somebody's got to dig the dishes. Mm-hmm. And that's us. You know what I mean? And
so be it.
That's the 90%. That's your odds in the game.
At the end of the day, that's being humble and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's true happiness right there. If you can live life without being like, I need this, or being materialistic, or being like, I need that, just because you own a $10 million house and all that fancy ass shit doesn't mean you're living your best life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you can't take it with you. So when you die, it's like, what do you do with your life? You know what I mean? Except spread a bunch of bullshit and hurt people below you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it is when you. That's really one of the biggest problems and one of the deepest evils that we face in our country right now is materialism and all the excess and how spoiled everybody is. Like, really, like when you think about it, even people living around the poverty line, such as ourselves, you know what I mean? Blue collar people, your average, you know what I mean? Average salary person, maybe a little below. But you look at that and I don't know, I just completely lost my train of thought on that. Where I was
It's like, you're not it's almost like you talk about all the time is when you get into that mindset of being materialistic, then you forget how to prepare and be in the basics, you know what I mean? If the power grid went down tomorrow.
Oh, no, that's what I was saying. Okay, so when you look at people who even live around the poverty line, such as ourselves, really, even we live like kings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even the poor in this country live like kings. Hell, go look at a homeless camp or where those people are. They'll be walking around with iPhones and shit. Yep. They all got cell phones, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now, they don't... They still have it way worse. They're still homeless. But, I mean, they all have cell phones. You know what I mean?
They all have communications. They all have.
So even
they can go get free food. They can go get shelter. You know what I mean?
right.
Try being in like one of those countries where not only is it a war-torn country, you don't have a house to live in, you're homeless there. There ain't no government aid to help you there. There's people starving, literally starving, asking for handouts, begging. As soon as they see somebody, they're like, "Please, can I just have some food? I'm starving."
Right.
Like, that's where they have it bad.
Well, shit. Like I'm saying, even people near the bottom, like yourselves, like I could be sitting home tonight, get hungry, whip out my cell phone, hit a couple buttons, and somebody will bring me whatever the fuck I want to my door. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, it's all
and
about
it'll be
choice.
affordable. It'll be, you know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, everything in life is about choices.
Right.
You can either drive that Corvette and live in a shitty house, or you can live in a nice house and drive a shitty piece of shit car. But you're happy because you made those choices in life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as you're staying humble and treating the people around you with respect and doing the right things in life, you'll be alright. You'll be happy and fulfilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like I remember one of my high school teachers that I really liked. That I was quite fond of. History teacher. And is Mr. Conterio in Newark. He always used to say. He had a saying he would always say, he'd say, money's like manure. It's only good if you spread it around. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's exactly true. I mean, that's essentially at the heart of it, what economics is. You know what I mean? And, but yeah, just the excess and the greed that we have in this country now where, it's never enough. You know what I mean? You think, oh, get to the next, like at what point can you just say, okay, I have enough? You know what I mean? I don't have to try to get $1 trillion. You know what I mean? Or $1 billion. Now that's understandable if you're running something like a SpaceX. You know what I mean? To where
it affects the government or like our country. If
right.
It's going to progress our country forward and stuff.
Right. Well,
like that.
if you have a business like SpaceX that's worth billions and has billions in R&D done and all that, then obviously those are the kind of figures that you're going to be playing with. You have to have that kind of money, put it in, get it back out. You know, that's why they sell the flights to space for putting satellites up and all that. That's how they make their money, to do all the research and everything. So but I just mean, we all know what we're talking about. We all know the corporate greed in America. You know what I mean? And even us little guys are affected by it. You know what I mean? We always think, oh man, if I just had enough for this and this, I'd get that, I'd be set, man. And then you get that, and you're like, well, I mean,
I got this.
I could get a little bit more. You know, maybe, you know what? No, I will get this and this and that. But you just keep going. You know what I mean? And it's never enough. So, but I do think that there is a shift happening in that mentality in the newer generations, which is a good thing.
You see a lot of small time like business owners that like to give back to the community, hold community events, and like help out with like charitable donations and things like that. It's you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
we definitely need to get back to that, man. You know, to hell with the Walmarts and the big corporate chains. I want to get back to the mom and pop shops. You know what I mean? Family farms.
Take care of your community, and then as your community grows, the economy grows, and that's what helps the country get back off its feet.
Right. Well, that's like one of the third rails. You know what I mean? In America, that's one of the things we can't talk about. Is one of the problems that's really behind a lot of the other problems. Is just sheer population. You know what I mean? When you get a population like we have, it's going to become harder and harder to keep everybody employed. It's going to be harder and harder to keep everybody sustained.
Well, it's hard to have people employed when you're giving the jobs away to other countries.
Right. Well,
when you're making regulations where we can't even have our own factories, when you're making it so we can't have, sell oil, when you're making, you're getting rid of fracking and stuff, you're killing hundreds of thousands of jobs right there alone.
Right. Well, not only that, but now, like, when you have where every single individual has to have a full-time plus job, you know what I mean? Every single person has to have a job. That is an impossible amount of jobs to have when you get a population that size. You know what I mean? That's why, people, they talk about the golden age and whatnot back in the 50s. You know what I mean? Where the husband went to work and had a career and he provided for his family and they had a house and they had a car and they had enough. You know what I mean? And you could do that. And so you got to think then it's just the males in the workplace. Largely there was females obviously that worked and all that. But predominantly males in the workplace. Supporting families at home and all that.
I think a lot of the problem too is taxes are so damn high, and everything is taxed.
Well, the bigger the population gets, the higher taxes are going to go, because the bigger the population that the government's going to have that is trying to maintain, and it's got to pay subsidies to the farms to keep the food affordable, and it's got to do this and it's got to do that, and you can't. The bigger you get, the more it costs, and if you're not producing anything.
Well,
we're not producing anything.
Right, that ties into what we're talking about here.
Right.
So we're not producing anything, which hurts us. You got people who want to rely on government programs to implement all these socialist programs, like welfare and that, which is taking money from the taxpayers, what they're paying into the government. So our government's overspending as far as that's concerned. Because theoretically, if you think about it, yeah, you're right, the bigger our population grows, the more workers there are. You're saying that the more taxes have to go up. Theoretically, if there's more workers in the workplace and if they're all paying taxes, the taxes shouldn't have to go up. But when you're implementing these socialist programs that give out free money to everybody for every little thing, that's what's draining our government's economy, and that's what's hurting us in the long run. And then on top of that, you cutting all these jobs, and we're not producing anything to make our government any money. The only thing that really makes our government money is when other countries throw money at us or ask us for aid to go help them and play security guard for them.
Right.
That's literally the only time our government's making money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why as soon as Biden took over, you see all these other countries saying "Duck to America" again and screaming all this other stuff because they know damn well what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, China is taking full advantage of all of that. 2 stories we just talked about. We got, we know they've been, building those artificial islands in the Pacific to claim territory out into the ocean.
Which is causing a lot of drama right there, too. Because you can't do that.
Yeah, well, I saw this last week. Well, you're not supposed to be able to do that, but China, like most communists are, and just like the American left is, they're just going to do it.
Yep.
And they're going to see if anybody stops them. They're always going to push that line, and they're going to go until they get pushed back. And if they don't get pushed back, then they're going to keep going.
Well, you saw when Trump was in, and I forget what countries having. I for some reason want to say India. My geography is terrible, but the countries that are affected by these man-made islands that China are making, and they're stopping the shipping. They're shipping cargo ships and stuff like that, and some of these smaller countries are trying to fight back. And when we had Trump in there, Trump was sending our soldiers over to train and help prepare with these guys. It was almost like chess, it wasn't being talked about because Trump was a great leader when it comes to that stuff. It's more or less, all right, we're going to put you guys here, we're going to put you guys here. It's just for training purposes, but really they're helping build that defense, because we have to put a stop to it. But now that Biden's in office, you think that's going to continue? Hell no. He's going to bring those soldiers back, let China do their thing. It's a cultural difference. They're allowed to do what the hell they want to do. Let them take over the national waterways. Even though there's a pact, all the countries agree that everyone should have free access to those open waters. But that no longer exists with Biden around. We'll let China take it. We'll let them have their dues. We owe them that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, really, at this point, I think it's fair to say that China has overtaken us. in all areas except militarily. You know what I mean? I mean, we still have the world's largest, biggest, best navy. It's going to be very hard for China to get up to that level. But, I mean, economically and trade-wise and, just their policies in general and everything aside from the military, they've already overtaken us. And militarily, they're getting there fast. You know what I mean?
Well, see,
they're making a shit ton of money, and they're building a military like crazy, and
what they're trying to focus on right now is building up their navy, right? Their version navy, and they're building all these warships, but they're underpowered because they're still relying on diesel-powered engines instead of nuclear-powered like the American Navy uses. So their ships are way underpowered, which means they can't turn as fast, they can't maneuver as fast. So by the time they get one of their ships in position, we got like 5 ships around them, like, oh hell nah, it's like real life battleship. I mean, they're dealing with older technology when it comes to that stuff, but at the end of the day, when you have so much money and so many numbers of people that you can just keep adding more and more, you know what I mean? Power's in the numbers.
It is. And that's the biggest difference as of right now when it comes to the navies and whatnot, is exactly what you said, that they're still using diesel and they haven't been able to make that jump to nuclear subs and nuclear warships and all that. But I mean, that's a ticking clock. You know what I mean? They're gonna have it. They're probably gonna have it soon. They're probably making it right now. They might even have it already, and it's just not known yet. You know what I mean? Especially when they have. Think of all the American countries are companies that work through them, run through them. Think about espionage. Think about all those patents that they have. Think about the patents that they've gotten their hands on. I mean, I don't think the know-how for building nuclear ships and nuclear subs and all that is a problem. I think they already know how. If not already from their own scientists, then from getting it from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it comes down to funding.
Yeah. Well, they have funding. They're the financial powerhouse on the globe. They sell everything. Everything we buy is from China, and that's the same for many other countries. I mean, they're the export kings of the globe.
So then it wouldn't be so much, like I just said, it wouldn't be so much the money issue. It's of how fast they can build the diesel over nuclear power.
Right.
They could probably build the diesels twice as fast.
Yeah. And that's a common strategy with some armies, is just sheer numbers. Actually, we did it in World War II with our little Sherman tanks there against the Tigers and the Panzers that the Germans had. Their tanks were far superior to ours. In some cases, we couldn't even penetrate their armor in the Sherman tanks. But the Sherman was small, simply engineered, and we could produce mass numbers of it. And what would happen is that the Tigers and the Panzers were far superior to the Sherman, but the Shermans would just go in there in numbers, you know what I mean? And they would basically overrun the Panzers and the Shermans. Until they got to that point, a shit ton of them would get taken out by the German tanks. Yeah. It just took one shell, you know what I mean? And a lot of times we couldn't even hit them. But the numbers would come in, you know what I mean? And they can shoot all day until we get there, but once you get overrun, you know what I mean?
See, I'm not.
And then you have the air support and whatnot.
I'm not saying we have to be the biggest military, but we should definitely be a fighting factor. We should be able to stand on our own too. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? We should be able to defend ourselves, and cutting back the military and misusing a military is not the way.
Well, I think you can cut back on it where it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I've never agreed with America being the police of the world. You know what I mean? I'm just not for it. I mean, we don't need all them troops out there. We don't. I mean,
I look at it like a subcontract.
a lot of it is subcontracting. That's how you get Blackwater and private militaries and mercenaries and you know what I mean? Which I will say that is one thing that Trump did that I was disappointed in was pardoning those Blackwater members. And then Blackwater also started back up under Trump. I wasn't uberly thrilled to hear about that either, but but here's the thing. So, speaking of which, I hear a lot of people criticize Trump supporters for how much we support him and the fact that we never turned against him for anything. Or that we didn't bash him. You know what I mean?
I heard someone call us a cult. A cult.
All right, the cult of Trump and all the names they have and everything. But here's the thing. So they'll say now, they'll be like, he wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you guys act like he was perfect or something. Okay, here's the thing. Okay. Compared to every politician, compared to most presidents we've had in the past, especially all presidents of our lifetime, and probably modern future, when you have a guy like Trump that said what he meant and meant what he said, and he works hard to fulfill each and every one of those promises that he made while campaigning, and he's transparent and he talks to the media every day, and all those great benefits that we got from Trump, okay? And then, especially when you see an entire half of the country and all the media and all that just do nothing but attack the guy every day, you're not going to criticize him. No, you know what I mean? Because he already gets enough of that, and because we need to reward good behavior. Yep. You know what I mean? And if you're making promises and keeping those promises and you're working hard and you're being transparent and you're talking to the media and you're doing things that a president or any political candidate that has voters and constituents, you know what I mean, you're supposed to be representing. And he did all those things. And that is why he had the bond with his supporters that he did, that most politicians never get. You know
what I'm thinking about? A lot of people continuously talk about Trump and bring up Trump, and even got to some people. I know some people who are dead set at, oh, he's coming back soon. He's gonna be back soon, and they call us a cult following and whatnot. It's like, until we get another good president like that, until we get someone like you were saying who's transparent, who shares our pro-American views and that, of course we're gonna bring up Trump. Of course, that's the person that after everybody else. If you're not for us, if you're not for America, if you're not for the people, then we're not with you, and we're not going to support you. We're going to keep talking about the one guy who was on our side. And just like everybody else, no, he was not perfect. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Not you watching this. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Never going to be perfect.
No.
Far from it. Like, there was some things, like for one, the Blackwater pardonings.
The bump stock ban. Allowed that to go through.
The bump stock ban.
I was not a fan of that.
I did not like that one bit.
Nope.
I was also, there were some things I was not against, but hesitant about and watchful over. Like the fact that he was cutting so many regulations, and a lot of them EPA regulations for companies and stuff. I worried about that a little bit because we all love the natural land. We all want clean air, clean water, nice pretty land, you know what I mean, and all that. We want a clean environment. Everybody does, you know what I mean? And so I was just like a little bit about that, you know what I mean? But I didn't see anything that worried me too much. And then, like we just talked about, with all the good stuff going on and with all the attacks he's getting, there's no see, that's the thing. If they had not acted that way with Trump, if they had kept their sense about them, if it was a normal world, then in those areas we could have had those discussions, you know what I mean?
We will all agree.
Right, where we could have said, whoa, okay, well, how many regulations are you cutting? Maybe there's some we should keep in place, you know what I mean? Let's take a look at this.
If they were adults about it, and he would have had adult conversations with them. But no, he was so used to them attacking him that even when they did try to have a normal conversation, he had his guard up. And he's like, no, I don't trust you. And then they would try to give it back to him, and then it was just a disputing match.
Well, look, he couldn't even have, other than his family members, he couldn't have anybody around him that he could actually trust. You know what I mean? Everybody's stabbing him in the back. Like we all know how the goddamn Republicans are. You know what I mean? Oh my God. And speaking of Republicans, that's one of the articles I got here. GOP Senator Thune accuses Trump allies of cancel culture after impeachment vote.
Cancel culture? We're the cancel culture.
Listen to this article. All right, so this is the Senate Minority Whip John Thune, Republican, South Dakota, on Thursday accused Trump allies of engaging in cancel culture by rushing to censor Republican lawmakers for voting to impeach or convict former President Trump for his role in the Capitol insurrection.
You know what the one thing we're trying to cancel is? Socialism. That's the only thing we want to cancel.
Well, listen, why it matters. The comments by Thune, the number 2 Republican in the Senate, underscore the growing divide between mainstream GOP leaders and Trump supporters, who still dominate the party's base. Thune called Trump's actions after the election inexcusable in an interview with the AP. Now, this is an Axios article. Then they say, the big picture, while Thune rarely criticized Trump while he was in office, Trump called him a rhino, meaning Republican in name only. After the Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell urged senators not to vote against the certification of Joe Biden's Electoral College victory. Trump also endorsed a primary challenge against Thune. What he's saying, there was a strong case made, Thune told AP in an article referring to Democrats' impeachment presentation. Now, we all saw that presentation. It was terrible. And it had doctored evidence and changed tweets and
That's
fake
legal.
news.
That's all legal.
Oh, right. Okay, so he's saying they made a strong case with that presentation, and people could come to different conclusions. If you are going to criticize the media and the left for cancel culture, we can't be doing that ourselves. And then Thune added that he was going to be taking steps to assist candidates who don't go off and talk about conspiracies and that sort of thing.
So we're not victims of cancel culture when we're being shunned on Facebook and other social media platforms, right? That's not cancel culture.
Well, what they're saying is, he's saying, well, you guys, we complain about cancel culture, and you're doing cancel culture now because the Republicans who voted to impeach Trump or convict him, or, all us anti-Trump rhinos, people are threatening to not vote for us, and we're all going to lose our job, and that's cancel culture, and we shouldn't be doing it because we complain about them doing it.
That's not cancel culture.
Listen,
that's the American culture.
No, they made this fucking world, all right? And we need to start living in it. That's been one of the big problems with the Republicans, is they're always, no, I think I'll take the high road. I'm fiscally Republican, and I'm intellectual. I don't get down in the dishes or the dirt. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
When he had his little mustache, like,
right. But it's such horse shit. And we need to be done with that Republican Party, that establishment, that,
the Patriot Party.
And there's a ton of them that need to go. You can call it whatever we want, but we need to elect people who are effective and who actually believe in what they say and who actually have the gall in the spine to fucking go out there and fight for it. Because the Democrats aren't just going to give it to you, you know what I mean? This attitude of just accepting being the lower tier, being the minority opposition party, and just talking intellectually about things in theory.
It's like those nerds you see in the movies who get beat up by bullies. And they're like, it happens every day. And they're carrying their lunch and going on about their life, and they just accept the fact that they're going to get pantsed and throw in a dumpster and shit. Like,
right.
That's all it is. You're accepting being beat
up. But I'll tell you, this tells you how worried they are, those Republicans. And I love that not only us, the base, and the Trump supporters are fired up about getting rid of these Republicans. But Trump himself is also involved and has been saying that I'm going to run an anti-campaign against you in the next voting term. And I'm going to make sure that you aren't elected. You know what I mean? I'm going to make sure people don't forget that you're a POS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I want to see all of them get wiped out. Look, Democrats already run everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much worse can it get? I mean, it can get a lot worse. Well, it's going to get a lot worse.
I think this
But now is the time to make those big changes.
I think this was the last time you'll ever see a Republican president.
It very well could be.
I think that you're going to see, it's either going to continue to be a Democratic reign, or you're going to see a third party come up and do better than the Republican Party did, and actually oppose the Democrats the way that they should be opposing them, and stand for true American values. Whether it's the Patriot Party or some other party, I don't know. I can't see the future, but I have a feeling that this is the last time you'll see a Republican president.
Very well could be.
Or at least the Republicans that you're used to seeing. You know what I mean? The traditional Republicans.
Oh, that would be fantastic. If we're done with Bushes,
Yep.
that's fantastic. That's exactly what we want to be done with. You know what I mean? Populists, nationalists, America first, MAGA. Let's fucking do it, man. If you're not that, then I'm not voting for you. I know that much.
Yep.
So, what else? Tying up the back end here. Well, we got a couple new bills going through. Basically, like we talked about, they're just going to be cleaning up the loose ends that HR 127 it doesn't have in it. So we're going to have HR 1004, which is going to be mandatory insurance before owning firearms. So this is a bill that is going to make it mandatory that you purchase self-defense insurance and firearm insurance before owning any firearms. So everybody is going to have insurance
On something they don't have.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna have to have insurance for what if scenarios just to own firearms. You know what I mean? Now they already have that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
you
but
can
then
get
you
it.
got states like New York who won't even recognize that insurance. They're like, oh, well, that's a good old jail free card.
They're gonna recognize. They're gonna recognize this because it's gonna be the state version. Well, not this. It's gonna be the federal version. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be the government version, and they're all gonna love that. Because I'll tell you, that kind of insurance isn't gonna protect you from shit. That insurance is gonna be there so that I don't know.
See, because like a lot of the insurances, because I conceal carry, and I was looking at some concealed carry insurance myself because some of them are really good. Whereas if sometimes it's hard for a police officer to determine what exactly happened at the scene. You know what I mean? If you gotta defend yourself, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's not video evidence. Sometimes it's more of a he said, she said situation. So where they kind of have to detain you because...
Well, yeah, but that's just common...
We're out of time.
No, we're not. Bro, you're looking at the wrong stuff. You're alright. What are you doing?
Alright, anywho.
Time flies, but not that fast.
I was like, oh my god. No, but anyways, so there's a chance where you will have to be detained, right?
Right.
Until they figure things out a little bit. Well, your insurance would help not only cover your lawyer so that someone could come on your behalf, but could also, I completely lost there. But somebody would help that they would pay for your lawyer basically during your whole case. You know what I mean? Until you're proven innocent and whatnot. And because that could be a lot of money, especially if the trial keeps getting delayed, and you just gotta keep paying for that lawyer every time you talk to him. That's a lot of money. But you got states like New York who's like, we don't recognize that. That's a get out of jail free card. You don't have the right to an attorney. You know what I mean? Unless you could pay for it out of pocket.
Right. And I guarantee you that this government insurance isn't going to be insurance for you. It's not going to pay for a good lawyer. It's not going to, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're going to get a public defender, just like you would with shit. They're going to convict you.
Yeah.
And they're going to take that insurance and they're going to send a shit ton of money to the victim. Or
I bet you that insurance covers like property damage.
Well,
things like that, like say
property damage in human life. You know what I mean?
So let's say that you're...
So somebody breaks into your house, you know what I mean? And you defend yourself, you shoot them, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to get convicted and sent to jail, and your insurance is going to send their family a bunch of money.
Right, that's one scenario. But I was talking about the property damage. Is like, let's say you're walking down the street after you bought groceries, right? And someone comes up to mug you. And they have a gun. Let's say that they try to. Let's say you're a woman, right? Or a smaller bodied person, and someone tries to rape you. Wherever your self-defense story is, I don't know. Let's say you have to use lethal force to defend yourself. Let's say you miss and you take somebody's window out in the car next to you. You know what I mean? That person who had nothing to do with it is like, my window was shot out by somebody last night. You know what I mean? And if there's any video footage, it could probably go after that person. And the insurance would cover little things like that. Or shop owners, like business owners and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking.
Maybe collateral damage.
Yeah, maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But.
Damn. It's all horseshit.
But, I mean, it will. It'll cover the side stuff, the collateral stuff. Along with that, we also have 1005, HR Bill 1005, and that is going to be a mandatory gun registry. So mandatory insurance, mandatory gun registry, and then everything that's in HR 127. Both of those bills, by the way, were submitted by Rep. Mulaney of New York.
Of course. Of all places.
Why is it always our people? You know, God
damn, they're not our people.
New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we get entangled.
Our representatives. Hey, you can say they're not your representatives all you want, but she just submitted bills in your name, pretty much. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think she represents this area. I know we got John Katko, but you know what I'm saying.
He's a rhino too.
Of course he is, and we already talked about him, and he voted for impeachment. There's no such thing as a Republican in New York, man. No. And anybody that's running as a Republican is just a rhino. Republican in name only. They're just trying to say they're Republican. It's a bunch of bullshit. So we got the bills. We got the Biden gaffes. He also had a gaffe where he was like basically saying that like minorities, like blacks, Hispanics, minorities can't use the internet.
What?
Yeah. I don't have the exact quote or the soundbite with me.
That's not fair. It should be illegal.
Right. Oh, nobody noticed. Nobody said a fucking thing about it.
If Trump said that, bro, he'd be burned at the stake.
Oh my God. Trump was burned at the stake for things he didn't say. You know what I mean? If they could even try to twist something a little bit or take it out of context, they didn't need anything to call him. Of course, one of the huge things this week, we did have Rush Limbaugh, conservative radio host, passed away Wednesday morning.
Rest in peace, bro.
Rest in peace.
He was the OG that started all this.
He was.
No conservatives would get out and talk like this if it weren't for him starting the path.
It didn't exist when he started it.
Yeah.
And I know he had a huge audience, and I had just right after the Trump election. It was probably a couple months after. And I used to, when I went to work in the morning, I would listen to like Blaze and like Glenn Beck and them in the morning. And I don't know if they mentioned him or what, but somehow I found myself over on the Rush Limbaugh app looking for his show because we don't have it on the radio. Plus, I prefer podcasts, so I can listen at work or on my time schedule.
Yeah.
As most people do. And I found myself listening to him, and I don't know. He had a way of talking. He had wisdom about him. So I listened to him for obviously the last 4 or 5 years. He was on the air whenever possible, right up until the day he died. You know what I mean? It was just like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, that he did his last show. And I don't know. I'll just say that nobody can do it like he did it, and he was truly the greatest of all time. And condolences to his wife Catherine and the family and all that. So a big loss this week. We're sad to see him go. What a year it's been, man. You know what I mean? 2020 and 2021, and I feel like we've just been getting our asses kicked and losing one thing after another ever since, starting with the election. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you had the whole year of pandemics and lockdowns and people losing livelihoods and yes, quickly before we go, Cuomo is finally getting the
treatment he deserves.
Exactly. Now,
what was it called when you get rid of a governor? It's not impeachment like a president. What would that be called?
It's a recall.
A recall, yeah.
You can recall. Like they've been working on recalling Newsom of California for a while. It's basically the same thing. You're just removing him from office. But we're down to like 3 minutes here left on the podcast. So I'll just say quickly, and this is going to be a developing story, so we'll carry it into probably, I'm sure, next week's and future podcasts anyway. But, let's not pretend like he's starting to get in trouble now because of demerits. He's getting in trouble now because there's another or other Democrats that want him taken out.
Yeah.
And word is it's the New York's AG, that maybe she thought she was going to be thrown under the bus and she was going to end up taking heat for all this shit. Yeah. And, for all the elderly deaths of COVID and all that.
Did you hear the story about him calling people and screaming at him?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure, but
we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on the next time. So yes, we will definitely make sure we don't forget. There's a little teaser for next week. We'll get into the Cuomo situation more.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Share with a friend. We're always working on getting better. We're gonna keep improving. Yeah. And there's gonna be other shows and skits and all that still coming in the future too. We're growing every week. And we'll look forward to our next one.
Peace.
Peace. Do it together, right?
Yeah.